Well, good morning, humanity. It is November 8th, 2021, and it's our favorite time of the week again because it's Mondays with Bev and Paul. And hi, everybody. My name's Paul.
Good morning. This is Bev.
Hello, and good morning, Bev.
Good morning.
Did you have to change your clock in Sierra Vista?
Oh, only on my laptop. It
Oh, the
still was
laptop didn't
showing.
change? Really?
It was showing Pacific time. Yeah.
Well, welcome everybody, no matter what time zone you're in, because it's 10 a.m. Tucson time, and that means it's 10
Always
a.m.
time for
That's
BioTouch.
right. There you go. It's
It's BioTouch time.
oh, right. And so we want to talk about when's BioTouch a problem? Well, it's not about time because it's always time for
Right.
BioTouch. So,
Oh, but that's interesting because when you read that, he said it's about time.
right. That is good.
Time is simple.
So we're going to read this little thing we were inspired by. I read this morning. It goes, everything is simple. Reality is simple. It seems complex only because of ignorance. Otherwise, everything is simple. Once you know it, it becomes simple. The knowing is bound to be difficult, not because of reality, remember, but because of your mind. This technique is simple, but it's not going to be simple for you. Your mind will create difficulty.
Right.
Oh,
I
we
mean
can take
that's
off with this one.
yeah. So, well, maybe we should begin by in our manual what we say about BioTouch. You want
Right?
to read
Yeah.
that?
It's with a simple intent to help one's fellow human beings and proper instruction. Assistance may be initiated by any individual. No special talent is required to be effective. Everyone, because of their inherent love and compassion for those who are suffering, can perform these methods without limitation.
Well, right there, I think that's why we always say BioTouch is simple because it is accessible. There's really nothing that I can think of that keeps anybody from finding BioTouch, learning BioTouch, practicing BioTouch. And in its simple language, notice I said simple, um, in the language in our manual, it I think it's very clear, it's very understandable. We even have pictures and photos, and we've done everything that we can to make this across the board that people anywhere can can grasp it and use it. Whether you're looking at the video, listening to those sets of points, or reading in the manual, or looking at the diagrams with numbers and X's. I mean, you must admit, when you look at our manual, it's very well illustrated and not really complex. But as we have noted in many of our practitioner trainings, that seems to still be very daunting for some people because, we teach the whole technique, 17 sets of points. And yes, when we go and practice them, sometimes it's like overwhelm.
Right?
So, and we've noted that ourselves. So, I always remember what I think you and Deborah were on a radio show. Tell tell everybody
Don't
what that
remember
host
it.
said. It was from New York. I remember it was on a radio show, and you were talking about how simple BioTouch is, and he says, "Not really."
Oh,
I
right,
mean,
because of all the points. Right.
yeah,
He says you got this whole manual. So,
yeah,
so that it's interesting because that's when we even simplified it more, which was just the few sets of points needed for a particular condition.
exactly.
Just wanted to know for the Facebook folks, we're talking about what's the problem with BioTouch. I just hooked into Facebook,
Oh,
and
okay.
and how the mind is what gets in the way.
Yeah.
And I think that's what we've talked about all the time, which is why we don't address the mind.
Exactly. That's, I mean, the mind is just, it's an important part of our experience in life, okay? However, it can go very ballistic and crazy. And so when we talk about peace, being in a present moment, it's always about being having peace of mind.
Right.
That means bringing the mind to a place where it is not scattered and crazy. It is a little bit more focused. Now, as you and I have noted, just practicing BioTouch, and which of course brings us into that present moment with somebody, the it just, that ego, that mind stuff, whatever you want to call it, seems to come into a place of just a breath, a pause. And because when you truly practice BioTouch, there's no wondering about, well, what time is it? Am I doing enough? What's going to be the result of me with this? Are they going to feel better? Am I hitting all the right? All of that stuff, all that mind stuff that comes up for us, just seems to kind of like, be in a much simpler, peace peaceful place.
Right. And one of the other things that in this article I was reading talked about, what the mind will do when you are presented with something simple is, well, where's the time? Or, oh, I don't have time to do that. Or, oh, this can't possibly, how can something so simple be so effective? The mind will create these questions that we buy into because of our belief systems. And what we're saying with BioTouch is just the simple intent, just the doing of it
Yeah.
is the only intent that you need, which is why when that guy in New York gave me the interview, we even created this 21-day challenge of just doing the greeting.
Just doing the greeting.
Yes, just do
Just,
the greeting, which takes 30 seconds, which is funny because even a lot of people just can't find that 30 seconds to touch another human being and let themselves be touched.
well, isn't it interesting that we say BioTouch is simple, but the mind will create, um, it almost self sabotages itself and makes everything complex. It's like, nope, nope, can't handle the simple.
Right,
That's not in our programming. So let's make it totally complex to the point where I can't do that.
right.
I don't have the time. I don't have the this. I don't have, all these things that we can come up with, which again is our perception of, of when they are presented with something like BioTouch. And that's their reality. As he was saying, reality is simple. But when you bring the mind into it, then it can become not simple.
Right.
So this, yeah.
And
So
then
we
it creates
say
a
all the
bunch
time,
of belief systems. Right.
yeah.
And
And
then go ahead. We're
no, I was just,
yeah.
I was just going to say that that's just why we say just touch.
Right. That's simple.
Because yeah, because everything else, if you remember, we are a holistic unit, an intelligent, holistic unit that really wants to be in balance. Well, in order, that's what BioTouch is. I'm a firm believer that BioTouch is a means by which that can happen. But the more holistic, um, complex, if you will, um, thing about that is that it brings all these other body parts, not just the physical body, but the mental body, the emotional body. It brings all of these into through that journey of self awareness that will happen. Something will happen with BioTouch.
Yes.
Okay. It's not for us to say what, because it's your journey, but something will begin to happen. And that's why we say just touch on the body, because all of that is wrapped up in what we see, what we perceive to be us. Because our mind says, that's her, this is me, that's him, that's them. That's the mind that perceives that. Okay. So, but BioTouch, what? Breaks down barriers,
Right.
not just with other people, but within ourselves.
Yeah, and that's that circle you talked about. If we just focus on that which we're identified with, that body, and we take those two fingers and we allow another human being to touch us, it begins the cycle. Then I can focus on that. I can take a moment, be present just with those fingers, and then the circle just sort of takes care of itself.
It
Which
will.
is what a lot of these, if you're talking about mindfulness or meditation, you don't want to create the conflict of stopping the mind. Like, you don't have to even stop your mind when you're doing BioTouch.
Right.
Just be aware of the fingers, and all of a sudden you become aware of the thought process. Like you were saying, you become aware of this. You become aware of a change in your, that young man that you just worked on.
Oh,
Tell it,
yeah.
what happened after his session.
Oh, yeah. It's
Well, he's in
interesting
his
because,
20s too. He's like
yeah, he's in
25 or
his
something.
20s. He came in. I've never worked with him before, and he says, "I have anxiety." I'm like, "Okay." But I have insecurities and I have fears, and I'm thinking to myself, well, welcome to the planet. And he goes, "Can you help me?" And I said, "I can address those with BioTouch." And so we went into the room. We worked together, and then I walked out of the room. I was sitting at the desk, and he walks out, and he looks at me and he goes, "That was magic. I cannot tell you how much better I feel. That was magical." And I'm like, "Oh, there it is." We say that all the time.
I mean,
Not
how
just,
wonderful,
we just didn't make that up.
right? And to be able to get into that next generation, that generation of 20-year-olds who are living with such stress, such conflict,
Oh
such
my gosh.
unknowns.
And I got to say, as the associate working with him, well, do I even have to say, because we say it all the time in that, excuse me, in that relationship, I don't even know what I was honored to be a part of, because I'm telling you, when you practice BioTouch, you're just so present that you can't help that whole rhythm of life. It just kind of like permeates the relationship at the moment. So, when he said it's magical, I thought, well, yeah, because we've just experienced something that, is not really your ordinary everyday thing with another human being.
So we're trying to get this out to folks. We're trying to get it out to all of you out there so that you can practice it and start that spiraling up, that spiraling healing, that spiraling, you know, love for humanity, love for ourselves, healing that can. I just read a thing, and we'll talk about it later, in the New Yorker, big article about alternative therapies, and a lot of it was about touch. A whole part of it was about touch and the importance of touch, and how difficult it is to get this into the mainstream thought system of health and healthcare.
you know, I hope there comes a time when we stop saying that what is natural and innate in us as the healers in our lives, that's not going to be alternative.
Right.
It's going to it is it the other is alternative.
Right.
You're right.
Right.
We are biological intelligent beings here. And we all have, as we say all the time, BioTouch is here to remind us of that. We are the healers in our lives. We can make the decisions. We can make the changes. We can change the patterns of those belief systems that have gotten in the way of our growing into a presence and a realization of who we really are. Love. It's not alternative. It is what is.
It is what
And
is.
and
And
BioTouch is, I believe, here to help us to take it and to claim our birthright here.
so we're going to share with you this 30-second greeting. If you're listening to this on a podcast, you can follow it because it's going to tell you exactly where the point is. Practice it on yourself here. If you're with somebody, grab them and let's do it. and we're just going to show you the first part of how to do this greeting. It's going to be 30 seconds out of your life. Let's watch it.
The greeting is always performed at the beginning of each session. It's the only set that uses one hand and the only set that indicates which hand to use. The greeting is performed with the dominant hand. If you are right-handed, use your right hand. If you are left-handed, use your left hand. The greeting is made by touching at point 1, which is in the fleshy area just below the bottom of the breastbone or sternum. Hold this point for 6 to 8 seconds. Then, with the same 2 fingers, touch point 2 on the back. To find point 2, look for the big bone at the base of the neck. From here, move 1 to 1.5 inches to the left. This is point 2. Hold this.
There you go. And you hold that for 6 to 8 seconds also. That's it.
That's how simple it is.
Bottom of the breastbone for point 1, to the left of that big bone for point 2. 30 seconds for you to touch someone and someone to touch you. And if you don't have someone because everybody complains, oh, I don't have anybody, or I'm in lockdown, then do those points on yourself, thinking of somebody doing it for you, and then think of doing those points on somebody else. At least create the relationship in your mind.
Huh?
Begin to use your mind instead of your mind using you. And that is what BioTouch can kickstart us to do. It can start to allow us to put the reins in our hand and not be controlled by this wandering lunatic mind that's bought into the belief system that we need a bunch of stuff. You know, it always reminds me of the simplicity of BioTouch. You teach people BioTouch. They go home, they work with a pain. The pain comes back, and they go, oh, that didn't work. But if they go to the doctor and they get a pain, and the doctor says, take this pill, now 4 hours later, 6 hours later, take another pill because the pain will start to come back. We don't question that.
I know. That's what I'm saying about the alternative.
Right.
Come on.
So BioTouch, it doesn't magically take all your pains away because we're still identified with these pains. But when it comes back, okay, let's do BioTouch again. If it helped the first round, try it again. And an accumulative effect will start to get better and better and better. After 30 some odd years of doing this, I've just seen it enough where I don't have to believe anymore.
Right.
It's just part of my life now.
Right.
But I can see how trying to tell other people about it becomes a little more difficult to chisel through the brain part.
Well, that's right. But at least give yourself the courtesy of, the opportunity.
Yes.
I mean, we know that BioTouch can only enhance everything. It cannot, it is totally non-invasive. It can't hurt you. It can only enhance everything that's good.
And so there's other ways to learn. You can go online, justtouch.com, download the greeting, free, doesn't cost you a penny. We have a workshop coming up in December on diabetes. There will be a few sets of points for that, and Dr. Lindsay Parsons will be teaching us. She does high desert health coaching. And our next virtual training is a week from tomorrow. If you want to learn the whole technique, 9 a.m. to 4:30, we do that virtually. So there's numerous ways. Or just contact us, office@justtouch.com. And we'll talk to you through an email or do a Zoom with you and your family. We can't make it any simpler.
Look at us.
We can't make it simpler. There's no huge fee. There are no levels. Everyone is effective. If you're a human being, you can do BioTouch. We'll say it again. We've been saying it for years, decades. And we'll continue to say it because we love talking about BioTouch, don't we, Bev?
Yes, we do.
And so we loved this show. If you have any questions, contact us. And we'll see you all again next week, yeah?
Yes, we will.
All right.
Have a lovely week.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
I can feel the pain sunshine or rain, so it's not caused by the weather. But it doesn't hurt that much after I feel your loving touch and we spend some time together. You take my pain away each and every day. You're an angel from heaven on high. Your butterfly touch helps me heal so much, and I get better as time goes by. You take my pain